Hello, I'm Chrissy Seaton. Welcome to my Noahide family YouTube channel. You know, becoming a righteous Gentile is a bit like learning to drive a car. And I'm sure many of us can relate to that situation in our early days of learning to drive. And when we learn a new skill or a new concept, it's not always easy. It does not come easy to everyone. Sometimes it's not an automatic thing that we can switch to straight away. So it does require, first of all, a degree of commitment from us, just as it does to learn to drive a car. You have to want to learn to drive. There's a purpose or a reason for that. So you have to make a commitment to learn to drive that car, just as we make that commitment to be a righteous Gentile. So the first step is that just like driving a car, you need to find an appropriate or suitably qualified instructor or teacher. And then you have to make provision, again, like driving a car, that you will embark on some regular instruction or have a regular program of learning, a process of step by step. So eventually you have to get in the driver's seat, don't you? And when you do that in a vehicle, that automatically assumes that you are going to take some responsibilities, even when you're under instruction from your qualified teacher. So you have to make a commitment that you're going to do some responsible adjustments or changes or learning, and in order for you to learn to practice this new concept with a degree of knowledge, informed information, just as you would driving a car. I guess in a way, it's a bit like putting your seatbelt on, that responsibility. You know, I have to be responsible for my own actions, whether I'm in this vehicle or whether I'm learning to be a righteous Gentile. Eventually, you've got to turn that ignition on and start that vehicle and make those first few tentative steps into mastering that new skill of driving. But let's just say, for instance, you're a driver who has always learnt to drive with an automatic vehicle. You've become very accustomed and proficient to using an automatic vehicle. You know, we do everything on a certain day of the week. We believe a certain thing. We practice a certain way. And that's been our automatic response to our belief system. But now you think, I would like to find out more. I would like to learn more concepts and a new skill. Just as a driver may wish to transfer from their license as an automatic driver to now becoming licensed to drive a manual car, that is, with manual gears. Now, if you've been someone that's gone through that process, whether you've been new to driving full stop or transferring from an automatic vehicle to a geared vehicle, and what happens? You stop, start, there's a bit of stalling, you've got to learn to use the clutch and the brake, and you can kangaroo hop along a bit and not really make much progress, and then, is this really for me? So it is. It's like transferring from driving an automatic vehicle to driving a manual vehicle. But the important thing to remember is that we learn one step at a time and then become comfortable and proficient with that. And then eventually the driver has to master the art of reverse parallel parking. Now, for some people, that is a nightmare. They never either have reason to use it or they never master it properly. And I remember back when I was learning to drive as a young person, mind you, we grew up on a farm, so, you know, as soon as you could reach the pedals, you were driving around the farm. But it was time for me to actually get a driver's licence. So my father took it upon himself to instruct me and did it admirably. And then towards the final stages of my preparation and learning road rules and things, he said, now you've got to learn to reverse parallel park. Now I said, well, what's that? He said, well, I'm going to teach you. He said, I do not want you to be like your mother, where she would drive half a mile down the road to find a park she could drive straight into, in preference to trying to parallel park. That was the only time I ever heard my father be critical of my mother. So his words were, I don't want you to be like that. And I thought, oh, okay. So we started practicing, and he would make sure we were in the farm. You know, it would be a four-wheel drive. There would be, you know, 2, 3 or more dogs on the back, and he would order the dogs off, and he put 2 44-gallon drums up out in the middle of the paddock, and I had to learn to reverse park in and out several times just using the mirrors. He would instruct me the steps to go through, and every time we'd do that, he'd tell the dogs to get off the back of the ute. And then finally one day, it was time for me to do my last practice, I suppose, or getting near to it. And I said, oh, aren't you going to get the dogs off the back? He said, no, they can stay. And so I thought, oh, I've mastered the art of parallel parking. And do you know, to this day, I can still parallel park into a tight park. And that is only because I had to practice under instruction, follow the rules, learn new concepts, learn that I didn't have to stick my head out the window to check. I could use the rear vision mirror, things like this. So in a way, this is the journey of someone becoming a righteous Gentile. There's new concepts, there's new instructions, there's new ways of viewing how we do things. There is new way of imaging what it is that we have to follow and practice. So this, like the reverse parallel parking, eventually, as a righteous Gentile in your journey, you will become naturally informed and in this new skill or practice, this new concept. It becomes natural to you. You start to see the follow on, the look back from where you've been and where you are now. And so we have to go through this process. Righteous Gentiles go through this process of learning and this practicing the lifestyle before we can actually identify as a righteous Gentile, just as we go through the process of reverse parallel parking before we can identify ourselves as a proficient driver or a capable driver, a learned driver. So in many ways, these steps are like learning to drive a vehicle or learning to adapt to a new method of driving a vehicle. So I guess in summary, what I would like to point out is that the steps are quite simple, but the first thing is you must have that desire and that will to learn and to change your lifestyle or your habits or your beliefs. You need to have an appropriate instructor or teacher, someone who is well versed in the ways of the Noahide laws, and that can be a friend if you're lucky, or you may be involved with a rabbi who's teaching, but you certainly need to learn from an appropriately skilled teacher. You need to have some regular contact with that instructor or instructions, and that regular guidance. That's someone that you can ask questions, you can query things with them, discuss things. So on a regular basis, you'll make a commitment to perhaps do this once a week or whatever the case may be that you've decided upon. Then the point comes where you make that commitment within you, only you can do that, that you're going to practice the lifestyle and the commitment of the 7 Noahide laws. In other words, you're going to practice and be a righteous Gentile. So to do that, you've got to be fully informed, and you have to believe in one true and only God. That's a requirement. So I guess my final words to you would be that you come to the understanding that there is only one true instructor, only one authority, and that is God, the God of the Torah. That is the instructions and instructor that you follow to become a truly righteous Gentile in the eyes of God. I hope this has been some help to you, and thank you for subscribing to my channel. Please take care, and God bless.